Am I audible? Sir, am
Yes,
I
sir.
audible? Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. Honorable Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi University, Professor C.H. Gopal Reddy Garu, Registrar of Mahatma Gandhi University, P. Vishnudev Garu, Dean of Telangana University, Dr. Yadagiri Garu, Director of 5-day FDP and Principal of Mahatma Gandhi University, Dr. C. Lakshmi Garu, Coordinator of Faculty Development Program, Dr. Ravi Alwal Garu, Controller of Examination, Mahatma Gandhi University, Dr. Ramesh Kumar Miryal Garu, coordinating team members of FDP of Mahatma Gandhi University, Nalgonda, and other eminent personalities and intellectuals from academia, industry, fellow research scholars. A very good morning to one and all. This is Ms. Rasar Prasad, Research Scholar of Department of Mahatma Gandhi University, Nalgonda. This FDP is organized by Mahatma Gandhi University in association with AICT Training and Learning Center, Atal. It's a great privilege for me in introducing my mentor, guru, and a great mentor, guru, and great intellectual person, Professor A. Suryanarayana Garu, for the session one of day two of 5-day FDP on organizational behavior. Dr. Suryanarayan Garu have retired from Usmania University, Hyderabad as a Dean, Faculty of Management on attaining the age of superannuation on 31st July 2016. He promoted and elevated to the position of Professor of Business Management in the year 1998 in Usmania University. He worked as a Group Director, International Center for Entrepreneurship, Administration, Management and Technology, Hyderabad, till 31st December 2019. Earlier, he worked for 2 years as a professor and dean academics in Mantra School of Business Management. He worked for 1 year as a dean academics, Department of Business Management at RG Kedia College, Hyderabad from 1st August 2016. He was one of the senior professors of Human Resource Management, Department of Business Management, Usmania University, Hyderabad, with 40 plus years of teaching and 36 years of research experience. He worked as chairman, Board of Studies, Department of Business Management, Usmania University, and successfully completed 2 years tenure in that administrative position during the period 2005 and 7. He listed in Marquis Who is Who, 2012 29th edition. He was the recipient of Icon HR Dronacharya Award in the year 2018. He was awarded as the Best Professor in Human Resource Management, a global award from World Education Congress 2012, along with a citation. He is a fellowship from World Business Institution, Victoria, Melbourne, Australia. He is a fellow member of Academy of Global Business Advancement, USA. He is a senior member of International Economic Development Research Center, Hong Kong. Associate member, he is associate member for Society of Interdisciplinary Business Research, Singapore. Is recipient of Pay Protected Teacher Fellowship from ICSSR New Delhi for 2 calendar years. He got a life member of Higher Education Forum India. He is a life member of Global Management Teachers Consortium India. Life member of Hyderabad Management Association Hyderabad chapter. He is a life member of National HRD Network Hyderabad chapter. He is associated with various editorial boards of several international journals and national journals. His academic interests are centered on organization development, performance management, human resource management, leadership, and change management. We have around 180 paper presentation in international seminars, conferences, alone both within and outside India, other than equal number of paper presentations in national seminars and conferences. We got several coveted examinerships, including those from APPSC and UPSC, APSCHE, DHE, Tamil Nadu Public Service Commission, etc. So, thank you very much, sir. With this, I request Suryanar Gar to start the day two session of the faculty development program. Suryanar Gar, please. Sir, you are on mute. Sir, you are on mute. Suryanar Gar, you are on mute.
1 second. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
You're
sir.
audible.
Clear, sir.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Without much ado, I think already we have lost precious time of at least 15 minutes. We are behind the schedule. Let me kickstart my online lecture session for this 5-day long FDP. Ravi Aluwala, the convener of this FDP program, has given me at once 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 themes, 4 topics. In no textbook that you lay your hands on in your library on OB will find values and motivation together, attitude and psychology together. They are all independent, disjointed. In a way, in an unconnected manner, you will find rich material on values, on motivation, on personality, on attitudes. Anyway, I have to make an announcement at the beginning itself. I prefer to talk about values first to motivate you. Okay, the topic itself is values and motivation, which is supposed to be after the interregnum, 10 minutes tea break. But I have advanced it and I'll be dealing with attitudes and psychology later, just before lunch. I don't know how many of you have done the homework that have given. The homework that have given was there is a personal core values exercise. You have to go through those exercises before you are going to get the maximum benefit out of the lecture session that you are going to have. The first one and the second one. Then I have also given you a case study dealing with motivation. I have also given you a questionnaire, an attitude. You have to fill it up and be ready with your scores. Similarly, I gave you the big 5 personality test. Because they're time consuming, I did not want to waste the time during the proceedings. So if you've already done it at home and if you're ready with the individual scores, I'll be providing the interpretation. I'll be giving you, sharing with you the scoring key and the constructs, the concepts that are there, which you have to understand so that you'll be able to understand about your attitudes better, your personality better, your core values, your personal values better. This is the context. And yesterday, Professor A. Vidyadhar Reddy, he has set the context. He has given the perspective about entire OB, then some sort of an overview of all the OB themes and topics, all 3 levels, the individual level, the group level, and also at the organizational level. Now let us come to the topic. The topic is what? Values and motivation, which I advanced it, which is scheduled at maybe 12 o'clock. Anyway, kindly bear with me. Now, some of you must have done your BCom at your graduation level. In BCom, when you have studied accountancy or bookkeeping or accounting paper, you must have come across this concept called as book value, face value, nominal value, notional value, market value, salvage value, residual value, terminal, all these things, terminal value, or imputed value, etc., etc. If you have studied microeconomics, you must have studied about cost, price, value, utility, place value, form value, time value, or monetary value, economic value, financial value, or in accounting valuation, etc., etc. I'm not going to deal with any of these values because the context is what? OB. Your FDP is on OB. So I am going to provide an OB perspective for all these values today. I am going to talk about humanistic values, talk about optimistic values. I'll talk about democratic values. I'll talk about instrumental values. I'll talk about terminal values. I will not talk much about the social values, the cultural values, the family values, the national values, materialistic values, etc. But I'll be dealing with mostly the organizational value because the subject is OB, organizational perspective. especially in an organizational context. What are these values? Just now, while reading out my CV, which is a 3 years old CV, very old CV, I think I must have added another 10, 20 pages of to my biodata, my profile. So anyway, now in that, while reading it out, he was mentioning about I'm a life member of Hyderabad Management Association, I'm a member of National HRD Network, I'm a member of Global Management Research Consortium, etc., etc. Each of these professional bodies, they have got their own professional values, just as every organization is going to have organizational values. Okay, now these are all the core values for an organization. Just as an organization is going to have a vision document, a mission statement, it is also going to have a core values. Whether it's going to be public sector or private sector, any annual report that you lay your hands on, invariably, very first page, second page, third page, you come across the vision, the mission, the core values, our goals, etc., etc., etc. Now, what are these five? Now, when in the context of organizations, I am going to tell you what it was in 1970s, the values. How over a period of time, decade after decade, in the 20th century, what the values were. In the 21st century, in this VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex and complicated, ambiguous world, what the values are today. I'm going to take you and provide you a historic perspective so that you will understand the values of the organizations over a period of time. That is going to be a historic. I will do that. Now, my presentation is going to be something which is going to have its flow like this. It's going to be an introduction I'm going to provide to you now, and I'll talk about the organizational values that are in transition. Just now I mentioned. I'll talk about internal values, external values, and I will also talk about the change agents or the top leaders of an organization or consultants, whether it's going to be OD consultants or HR consultants, whether it's going to be internal change agent or external change agent, what their professional values are. So that is going to be the flow. Okay. Now, what are going to be the takeaways for you? The takeaways, if at all, you attentively listen through my lecture session, you are going to know as to how values are going to help you in your professional life, in your personal life, in your family life. That's how it is going to be. Now, I am also going to give you some tips so that you are in a position to identify your own personal core values. And I'm also going to tell you as to how you are going to zero in on to the most preferred values for you, and what are going to be the top values in your personal life, professional life, social life, family life, etc., etc. And I'm also going to help you as to how you are required to prioritize your values. Once I'm going to give you a list of 100, literally more than 100 values, which you can treat them as terminal values for achieving your superior, superordinate, supreme, sacrosanct, your own exalted, elevated values that you have set for yourself. But I'll give you 100 terminal values. They are the tools, they are the means, they are the instruments, they are the vehicles, taking advantage of all these things. How are you going to reach your destination in your life, which is a raga, a saga, a journey, an odyssey, which you must have taken up maybe 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. This is going to be one. Now, let us get going. Now, once you are going to know, consciously become aware of your personal values, you are going to reaffirm to yourself, yes, I am going to live for them. I'm going to die for them. I'm going to uphold them, maintain them, sustain them, improve them over a period of time. I'm going to inculcate these values to my own children, my daughter, my son. And these are the values which some of them, most of them, I myself must have imbibed from my own parents, my own teachers, my own elders, my own grandparents. So something like that. Now quickly, I have got a lot many slides. Let me go through that. So how do you decide what is going to be most important in your life? So you have to put a question, you do some introspection and reflection, and you are going to, through self-analytic methods, you have to answer, first of all, what is a value for me? Values are called values because they're invaluable. They are not worthless, they're valueless, they're invaluable. That's how it is. These are the ones which are going to become life priorities. These are the things which are going to act as measurements, metrics, numbers, measures that are going to tell you as to how good a life, how fulfilling your life is going to be, what is going to be the source of unhappiness in your life, or what is going to be the source of happiness in your life. It all depends upon what values you want to pursue, you want to uphold, and what values you are able to, in fact, in effect, able to keep in your mind and able to practice. This is going to be one thing. So it's going to be conscious effort that you are going to be doing it. Now, for example, go back into your memory lane. Take a historic perspective when you're doing your graduation, post-graduation, 10th class. So what next? Intermediate, what subjects? Degree, which degree? I am going to do it, undergraduate course. And which master program that I'm going to do it? Which university, which college, which subjects, which specialization, which elective, all these things. Which business am I going to be? What job should I be taking up? And these are the things. Should I be a job seeker or should I become a job giver, an entrepreneur? Can I become all these things? So all your personal values are going to show you the direction in which you are headed toward, and they are going to be life goals. And to reach those life goals, to realize those life goals, you are going to do that. So what are the values? Values are going to be to repeat. Let me say 90, make it 90. Okay, I'm uncomfortable. Yes, values are ideals. There are ideals that are going to guide, shape. They are going to shape or qualify your conduct, your interaction, your reaction, your responses, your involvement, your engagement, your motivation, your interest, your inclination, your feelings, your leanings, your predispositions towards people, towards community, towards language, towards religion, towards Tollywood, Hollywood, Bollywood, Collywood, Mollywood, films, actors, actresses, all these things. What is right? What is wrong? What is ethical? What is unethical? What is appropriate? What is inappropriate? What is to be upheld? What need not be upheld? What is legal? What is illegal? Well, you are going to say, he is that professor. What a life he has lived. He's a man of principles. He's a man, a professor of values, scruples, morals, ethics. That means here we are talking about the ideals. We are talking about contact. We are talking about your character. We are talking about what are the things that are really going to make you passionate about. This is going to be one thing. Now, so, for example, you are going to have empowerment, freedom, honesty, dedication, application, energy, self-respect, ego, equity, equality, equality, distributed justice, social welfare, economic welfare, BC welfare, SC welfare, ST welfare, all these things. What is it? Which particular value is really going to monopolize your energy, your effort? What is going to be your passion, your interest? That is going to be one. As I told you, all these things. And some of the values are going to be relatively permanent. They are going to be with you throughout, from your childhood to your death. And generally, it's very, very difficult for people to resist any sort of a change in your value system. That's why your value system, once it is going to be there, you want to practice, live for it, die for it, uphold it, maintain it as scrupulously, assiduously, faithfully, sincerely, and honestly, the best possible efforts you are going to be putting it. So, because this is something, the value system is something which is going to be injecting into your life a judgment, morality, good conduct, all these things. Of course, I'm not going to talk about theoretical values, economic values, aesthetic values, social values, political values. Each political party is going to have its own political philosophy, a political ideology. I'm not talking about that. I'm only going to tell you that in a given cultural setting, context, you being a Hindu or a Christian or a Muslim or a Jain or some, you are going to have a cultural setting. You are going to have your own ethos, your own guidelines, guideposts. You are going to have your own for your journey. This is how it is going to be. And these are all You are a postgraduate. I could see from the list of participants at least a dozen people who are already doctorates. That is here. Now, having done your master's program, having taken highest research degree, you are going to have a given value system which is going to be a product of your qualifications, your experience, your expertise, your exposure, your exposition, your PhD, your MPhil, your masters, your double master, your schooling, your college, upbringing. All these things are going to give you a set of value which is going to become your value system. Now, let me tell you, there are two kinds of values called as terminal values and instrumental values. When you say terminal, terminus, Victoria terminus or something like that, or maybe Koti terminus or something else. That is where exactly Bharatpura bus depot. The buses are going to start off in the morning from the Bharatpura bus depot and they are going to come back to the same bus depot wherever your bus is attached. So this is how it is. That is the terminus. Terminus is ultimate, the last one. Nothing beyond that. That is here. What is going to be your preference, your priority for in your life, which is the end, which is the end, and that is going to be what is the end or ends that you want to really seek, that you want to really achieve. That's how it is. Is it prosperity? Is it money making? Fly, but you are going to become rich overnight? Or what is it? Is it going to be quantity of life, quantity life, quality of work life, or work-life balance? Yesterday, Vijay was talking. Is it going to be that? What is it that you want to do it? Is it personal life, family life, social life, night life? What is it that you want to really achieve in your life? Is it going to be world peace? Is it empowerment? Is it freedom? Is it initiative taking? Is it going to be autonomy, equality, wisdom, knowledge, excellence, perfection? What is it? What are benchmarks for doing? So they are going to become your ends. So these are all the goals. When I use the word goal means what? A broad, general, overall statement of purpose for your life. That's what it is. During your lifetime, a karke, a pake, a lake, mai dikhata hum. That's how it is going to be. You are something. You are going to be saying something. But what are instrumental values? As the name itself tells you, it's only an instrument, an implement, a tool, a technique, a means, a vehicle for you to do something, for you to reach somewhere else. That's how it is going to be. You have a value called as I want to be working very hard work, sincerity, honesty, application of energy, or enthusiasm, exuberance. Okay, courage, honesty, cheerfulness, wit, fun, humor, repartee, or all these things are team spirit, camaraderie, it's going to open-mindedness, mindfulness. Anything could be your terminal values, instrumental value. So that is for the end states. If you are very passionate about achieving, you need to really take advantage of, make use of the instrumental values. That's how it is. Now, values. So let me tell you some more before I get going into the brass tacks, so to say, the core of it, the essence of it, the quintessence of a presentation on values. Let me give you some more defining characteristics, principal distinguishing characteristics of values. What are values? Values are qualities. They are characteristic hallmarks. They are the ideas about which you are going to feel very strongly about it. They are decide your worth, intrinsic worth, the inner worth, your personal worth. Your values are going to affect, impact your decisions, your goals, your behavior, your attitudes, your leanings, your feelings, your preferences, your prejudices, your likes, your dislikes, your preponderances, your predilections, so to say, because it is a belief about somebody, belief about a community, it is a belief about something which you think is worthwhile pursuing. So that's how it is going to be. And is something which is worthwhile emulating, imitating, coping with. That's how it is going to be. They are the ones, they are going to guide your actions and judgments. So that's how it is. Even when you want to go to Big Bazaar or any other department store, super bazaar, supermarket, you are going to be influenced by your own value system whenever you make any purchase. You are emphasizing quantity, quality, service, pre-purchase, post-purchase. All these things are going to be. So, to repeat once again, values are personal. So, they vary from person to person. My value system is not the same thing as the value system of the person sitting beside me, behind me, before me. That's how it is going to be. They're subject to change. They are not permanent 100%. That's how it is. They are not that very rigid. So they are firm. Some sort of firmness is going to be there. So when you say, I have got this set of values, you should also remember other person is also going to have his own set of values, which you must respect. So that's how it is going to be. And then now a question is generally asked as to where from are you going to get these values? First source is going to be home, ubiquitously, universally, everywhere, anywhere. Home is the first university for you to get these values. Society, school, friends, TV, internet, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Nowadays, you are going to have YouTubes. And then all those things, music, church, books, families, culture, employers, colleagues, associates, all these things. The years you were raised, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, Suryanarayana, 66 years, you are going to. Now, a question may arise as to whether age has got an influence on the personal value that you are going to espouse, that you are going to live for, work for, die for, uphold, maintain, sustain, inculcate, imbibe in others, from others. So you are 8 to 13 years old boy. Now, what are the sources for you? Parents, father, mother, grandparents, teachers, elder brother, elder sister, heroes, sports, rock stars, TV stars. These are the people who are going to influence you basically, primarily. Then the moment you are going to become an adolescent, 14 years to 21 years, pre-teens, post-teens, okay, now that's it. You go to canteens with your friends. That's how it is. A pub, a club, an eatery, a bakery, a restaurant, a bar, all these things. So whenever you are going to find yourself in this age band, you choose your best friends. That's why people say, you tell me your friends, I'll tell you what you are. Tell me your geography, I'll tell you the history. Tell me what channels you watch, I'll tell you what you are. So you tell me your network, I'll tell you the network, something like that. Once you are going to reach 22 years of age, virtually, I think all your values must have been very firmly entrenched into your values, into your system. So these are the ones. Next one, quickly. Before I talk more about values, one sentence I need to tell you about what is a belief, what is an assumption, in addition to what are values. Of course, values are beliefs, but what is a belief? Because I use the word belief, you should know as to what is a belief. Belief is a proposition, not preposition. Proposition about how the world works, how the universe is, how the community is, how the country is, how the nation is, how the people around us are. That is here. You are going to accept them as it is in total. At its face value for you, it's a cognitive fact. It is going to be a picture, an image, a spectacle that you are going to create for yourself in your mind with the help of your own software called as the brain. You are going to receive the cognitive inputs, they get processed, and you are going to have some. That's why we say perception. Yesterday, Jared is making a mention of perception. That's how it is. Cognitive inputs, cognitive fact, cognition. Not sensation, the perception leading to perception. That is, it's a conviction. I believe in this. You think it's true. Truth, myth, real, fable, fact, fiction. You are able to decide and distinguish because this proposition is going to tell you as to which one is a true, which one is untrue. That's how it is. Because these are all the ones which are held without recourse to proof. I don't ask for proof. I don't ask for evidence. Sun rises in the east. That's it. I don't ask for any. That's it. I know what is east, what is west, what is north, what is south, because I know where the sun is rising, where he is setting in the evening. So this how it is going to be. But what is the value? I think I spoke enough about value. For example, values are something, as I told you, value, principles, values, models, scruples. He say he's a professor. Oh, what a professor. He believed in this thing. He lived for that throughout his career. That's how I say. He is best. He is incorruptible. He is honest. He is bright. He is upright. That's how it is. Whenever he was in administrative position, the executive fiat control that has very tight. That's how we are going to talk about. Free speech is good. Human life is good. What is bad? Dishonesty is bad. You are an imposter. You are 420. You're a thug. You are a dacoit. You're a terrorist. You're a Maoist. You are an Naxalite. So something like that. You're a money launderer. All these things are bad. Why are you able to say that? Because the values are going to tell you that. What are assumptions? Assumptions, best example that I can give you is, you must have studied Theory X and Theory Y, Douglas MacGregor, a small book that has written The Human Side of Enterprise, where he talks about a set of assumptions the Theory X supervisors and leaders and managers hold, and Theory Y, a set of opposite assumptions. So that what are these assumptions? You think they're so valuable, you think they're obviously correct. I don't want proof. I don't want evidence. I don't want to know. I don't want any content. What is that called? Empirical evidence. I take it for granted and I live my life accordingly as a Theory X manager, a Theory Y manager. That's how it is. Now I think, let me change the gears. What are the values? Values are going to give the structure, stability for your people. Just as we talk about financial ability, stability, solidity, continuity, annuity. Similarly, here also, we are going to understand the world around us with the help of the values spectacle, the pyramid, what we call it as the prism. The prism that you are going to be using it is going to be this. That's how it is. Now more serious. You'll get some questions also at the end of the fifth day, you'll get a question on some of these topics. Humanistic values. Understand this. This slide is too good. What are humanistic? They are human. Something like human resource management. Human resource managers are expected to be personal, super personal, perceptive, practical, receptive. They are going to be personal and super personal. They are going to be responsible and responsive. That's how it is. There should be human, if possible humane. But what these values are, these are all not the rules to be followed. It should be your DNA. It should be a part of your personality. It should be your philosophy, your ideology, your value system. What is that? I am going to respect the whole person. Whenever you are going to a fiancé, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, father, mother, they don't love each other. I like only your little finger, the thumb, the left hand, the right hand. You love them totally. In toto, we call it in Latin. That's how it is. We treat people with respect, dignity, decency, demeanor, civility. Okay, demeanor. We assume that every human being in this world has got some worth, which we call it as his intrinsic worth, inner worth. That's how it is going to be. It is not the property, not the prosperity, not the buildings, land, bank balances, FDs, and all these things. Because all the people have got the potential for growth, for development. If you remove this value, your training program, your FDP, your MDP, your EDP, all these things are going to be bekar, because we believe management education is based on three fundamental premises. One is it is identifiable, verifiable, provable, demonstrable, transferable. Otherwise, millions and billions and trillions of dollars of money that we are spending on MBA education, BBA, MBA, B schools, PGDBM are going to go down the drain if this particular presumption is removed. So, because you can grow, you can develop, you can go, you can grow, you can grow at the end of the day. So that's how it is going to be. What are optimistic values? Optimism. Oh, he's a positive gentleman, positive flavor, positive attitude, positive personality. We don't want toxicity. We don't want toxic people. What are optimistic values? Optimistic values are going to stay, we call it posit, that people are basically good, inherently good, intrinsically good, generally. And progress is possible. Progress is desirable. So in human affairs, that's why economic growth is possible, economic development is possible, social development is possible, human development is possible, BC welfare, SC welfare, ST welfare, equity, equality, equality, distributed justice, alternatively able people, physically challenged people, all these things, development is possible. Rationality is going to be there, reasoning is going to be there, logic is going to be there, goodwill is going to be there. You are going to use these tools. You choose to use these tools so that the progress is possible. That's how it is. Now, lastly, democratic values. We proudly say, we keep on telling every day that ours is the largest single largest democracy in the world. But what are these? By the people, for the people, of the people. So these values are going to assert the sanctity of the individual. See the subtle difference between democratic values, optimistic values, and as I told you, humanistic values. The right of the people is there because we don't want to live under shackles. That's why British Raj chale gaya. So we have got independence on August 15th. 1947. That's how it is. We want to be free from the clutches of foreign rule. We want to be free from the arbitrary misusing, abusing of power. So we don't want that. We want judiciary, we want executive, we want government, we want governance. And we are going to believe in the importance of free, fair, full, frank, free, and friendly, equitable treatment for all. That's how it is. Justice. That's the principles of natural justice. Everywhere, every court, every what should I say, courtroom battle. It's all based on law, based on judicial system. You're based on what is that? Indian Penal Code. What is it? What is this system? I'm not getting this word. This. Now, I'm more interested in OB. Now we are coming to OB. Let me talk 100% OB. There was a gentleman by name Warren Bennis. He talked about that normative goals and values and assumptions way back in 1969 when he propounded humanistic democratic philosophy, a philosophy where democracy will be there, humanism is also going to be there. Who is the gentleman? Sorry, Warren. Perfect. It is Warren Bennis, 1969, long ago, decades ago. Now, what he says is improvement in interpersonal competence, interpersonal sensitivity, interpersonal sensibility, interpersonal competence, interpersonal interactions, communication, all these things, improvement is to be achieved. A shift in values is going to take place soon. Human factors are going to be primary now. Feelings are going to be important now, and they are legitimate. It is not as though you are going to do a favor. You don't have an option. It's an option's choice, and it is not left to your sweet will, sweet volition, because the shift has to take place towards human factors, towards human feeling. That is the human side, the people side, the social side is more important, much more important than the task, the structure, the technology, the culture, the climate, and the process. So human beings are going to be more important. Development of increased understanding between and within working groups in order to reduce tension. You are going to have a session team building. There, we are going to highlight that after all, understanding is very much required between the groups and within the groups, inter and intra. That's how it is going to be. Team management is important, and you are going to seek, think of, explore, and use better methods of conflict resolution. Don't keep the dirt underneath the carpet, right? Bring it out, bring it onto the surface, deal with them deftly, adeptly, adroitly, skillfully, which are interpersonal skills, soft skills. That's how it is. It's going to be conflict resolution. That's how it is. Don't suppress. Don't allow it to get repressed. That's how it is. Don't use bureaucracy. Okay? Don't use procrastination, bureaucratic rules and regulations. Don't resort to compromise. Believe in confrontation. That's how it is going to be. Unprincipled power, we don't want. Okay? We want principles, values, morals, scruples, ethics, dignity, decency, demeanor. Okay? Personality, proper, good persona. This is going to be more important. And don't make it non-organic. Make it organic. Anything has to be organic. Don't make it machine-focused. Engineering aspects, mechanical aspects, machine-focused aspects, electronics aspects. Make it organic. Make it humanistic. Now I think. Now, another gentleman. You must have studied about leadership. Continuum, singular, continuum, medium, stadium, stadia, criteria. So the same gentleman, another gentleman, the same year 1969, he said some more values are subjected to some change and transition. What is it? We do not want to view the people as essentially bad. People nahi hote hai. So that's it. Lack of something like theory X. Because you can't trust people. They are independent. No, they are always dependent. They are looking for the instructions, orders. So that's how it is going to be. They are basically, human beings are basically lazy, indolent, slothful, sluggish, smug, snug, like a bug. So this is how we are going to be viewing the people. That's how it is going to be. You are going to see them as being in process. That is, it is work in progress. It's not finished goods, nor is it raw material. That's how it is. Now we're also going to believe away from avoidance of negative evaluation. Don't evaluate people negatively. Don't become a negative person. Toxic people we don't want. That's how it is. Don't resist and fear individual differences. Yesterday, Vijayadit was making mention about diversity, workplace diversity. That's where exactly individual differences are, can be. They can be leveraged. They can be taken advantage of. You can always have a competitive advantage if only you take the individual differences, just as we are going to take the differences in countries and continents and communities and tribes, economies, industries, etc., etc., etc. Now that's how it is. Now, distrusting people, trusting them. No, distrust will not take you anywhere. Start trusting people. Now, similarly, one more great personality in the area of OB, whose name looms large. The moment you talk about OB, he is going to be Richard Beckard. You find books written by him, even on OD. So, what are the basic building blocks? The basic building blocks of any organization are groups or teams. That's how it is. It is not the individually, independently, in isolation, not talking to anybody, not taking orders from anybody, giving orders to anybody. He is going to do the entire work. Aham Brahmosmi. There is nobody in this world who can say, I am omnipotent, I am omniscient, I am omnipresent. No, only God alone is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omnipresent. So that's how it is. Decision making in a healthy organization has to be pushed down, because there the ground reality is. It is going to be a grassroots level. It is at the rank and file level. You are going to really find the information, the truth, the facts, the figures, the picture. That's how it is going to be. Now, for example, you ask me a question. Sir, you're a professor of OB, you're a professor of OD, you're a professor of HRM. What do you think are the values that you want to espouse, that you want to live for and work for as a professor? For example, I want to impact as many participants as possible, as many attendees as possible, as many FDPs, MDPs, EDPs, training programs, webinars, seminars, conferences, colloquia, symposia. Okay, paper presentations, maybe I want impact through my lectures, through my publications, through my paper presentations, etc., etc. To that is to create change, to positively impact people, to bring about new levels of, to add few more layers to the existing body of knowledge through my research. That's how it is going to be. To learn, to go, to grow, to glow, to enhance profitability, productivity. Okay, the bottom line, the top line, the market share, the market value, okay, market capitalization, the effectiveness, the efficacy, the economy, the efficiency, everything I want. These are all my values. I want change, I want challenge, I want spice, depth, pepper, kick, all these things I want. I want to exercise my power, not in a negative way, power positively, influence positively. I want to create an openness to communication so that I am able to talk to my own friends, my own colleagues, my own students, freely, fairly, fully, frankly, fearlessly, okay, and in a friendly atmosphere. No, unencumbered, unconditional, unqualified, unreserved, unfettered, something like that. I want to empower my employees. I want my son to be independent. I want to empower my daughter. I want to promote participation. I want to promote this sort of a thing in decision making. That's how it is going to be. I'm not going to be anachronistic. I'm not going to be authoritarian. I'm not dictatorial. I'm not unilateral. I'm not quixotic. I'm not whimsical. I'm not forceful. I'm not a Hitler. I'm going to promote a culture of collaboration, cooperation, coordination, co-creation, all these things. I want to promote inquiry, scientific inquiry. I want to believe in building knowledge organizations, learning organizations. I believe in continuous learning. Yesterday, you had a full session, post-lunch on learning. Peter Senge, the fifth discipline book that has written. So, MIT, USJ, he's a director there. There's Center for Organizational Learning. He's a director there. Okay, now, what are the types of values? I don't want to spend my time here Moral values, simply. Material values, all about possessions and wealth and prosperity, buildings, land, etc. Or aesthetic values, if you believe in music, fine arts, all these people. So that something is going to be, that is about aesthetic values. A person, whoever is going to be having aesthetic values, is going to go for interior decoration. He is a person who is going to believe in arts. Maybe things like Kuchipudi, Bharatanatyam, Kathakali, Kathak, or anything, music, classical, or modern, or rap, jazz, anything, or it may be Hindustani, anything, vocal, or it may be instrumental. But extrinsic values are monetary, financial, pecuniary, financial, or economic, you can say. So that's a big deal. But intrinsic values are those values which you appreciate for their own sake, But for example, I have got an antique car, and I value it for the intrinsic beauty. Such a beauty you are not going to find in your Tata Indica, or maybe Figo, or maybe your Maruti 800. That's how it is. Maybe your best friends, you love them, you like them, you adore them. Adulation, adoration, appreciation, acknowledgement, all these things because somebody, grandfather, grandmother, a teacher, a professor, your own mentor, your own trainer, your own colleague, your own boss, beautiful. Because of the value that has got, but it's simply his character, his conduct, his behavior. So that's what are universal values are going to be those values which are universally transcending the boundaries of countries and continents. You are going to find them, and that's how it is. Equity, equality, world peace, human life. That's good. Respect, reverence. That's another thing. And group specific, they are going to vary from group to group, organization to organization, community to community, country to country, continent to continent. That's how it is going to be. Now, personal values I talked about enough. Your personal value, honest. I want to be honest, come what may. That's it. For example, R. Venkateshwara, when he became the chairperson of Board of Studies, he had his own value system in the department, and then he conducted his administrative journey in his own way. Similarly, Parsardi, he lived for his own principle throughout till such time he reached the age of superannuation. That's how it is. Each one will have. For example, when I was the chairperson, when I was a professor himself, for about 20, 25 years, I believed in only one thing: paper setting, valuation, exactitude. Maybe it's going to be excellence, standards, certain benchmarks, or grammar, or questions not being repeated. So this is how certain things I had and then lived for them. I ensured that I'm able to reach my own standards of excellence, perfection, professional standards I have set for myself in sort of paper setting, or maybe the proofreading work, or maybe the moderation work that I was doing it for years together. Cultural values, I don't need to. Your own practices, your own modes, your own religious practices that you do it. That's something. The taboos that you are going to have. Okay? The prescriptions and the prescriptions, they represent your culture. Next one, I talked about enough. I don't want to waste my time here. Now, just I gave you the list. Not the same list. I gave you another list for homework. As I told you, I gave you a list of attitudes. And I also gave you a number of values, and when dealing with an exercise called as personal core values inventory, I gave you. But anyway, I told you it's going to be 100 plus: accountability, accuracy, achievement, adventurousness, altruism, ambition, assertiveness, balance, being the best, longingness, boldness, calmness, carefulness, challenge, cheerfulness, clear-mindedness. Crystal clear with regard to what you're doing and why you're doing and how you're doing, with whom you're doing, clear-mindedness, commitment, community, compassion, competitiveness, consistency, contentment. That's how it is. Continuous improvement. That's about Japanese people. Six Sigma. Continuous improvement. Kaizen principle. Contribution, control, cooperation, correctness, courtesy, creativity, curiosity, decisiveness, democraticness, if I can use the word, dependability, determination, devoutness, diligence, discipline, discretion, diversity, dynamism, economy, effectiveness, efficiency, elegance, empathy, enjoyment, enthusiasm, equality, excellence, excitement, expertise, exploration, expressiveness, fairness, faith, family orientation, goes on, obedience. So quality orientation. When I'm going through this 100 plus, literally 100 plus, some of them must be arresting your attention. Oh, this is me. Yeah, I am doing the purpose as to why I'm rattling through the entire list, the enumeration. So the listing out is having a purpose. The purpose is You should strike your mind. Not all of them, a few of them. A few of them are very much important. That's how it is going to be. Now, security, self-actualization goes on and on. All of the bits are exhausted. Tolerance, vision, vitality. Now, sir, why did you waste our time and your time too? No, it's not wasting my time. For example, if only hypothetically speaking, I don't know what your personal values are, what are going to be your charged personal beliefs, values, and assumptions that you make. I don't know which one is going to be your life priority, which is really going to make you charged up fully charged, 100%. That is it flexibility? Is it making a difference? Is mindfulness? Is well-being? Is humor, wit, fun, humor, repertory? What? I don't know. If you have done your exercise today, now you need to come up with all these things are either adjectives or nouns. Now I am going to make you to convert these epithets, these qualifying phrases, these adjectives into an action verb oriented sentences or phrases. For example, freedom, you said, it's a noun. Now, live in freedom. I want to live in freedom. I don't want to be subjected to anybody's subordination, subjugation, chains, or it is going to be lack of independence. No, I want to be independent. I want to have freedom. So live in freedom. You do it. You do. If you have not already done it, you can do it now during the lunch, during the lunch break or during the tea break. Second one, you said I want to make a difference, Surya Narayana. So what is it I should do? I should seek opportunities as many as possible, extensively, intensively, many and varied, many and multiple and different opportunities I should be able to seek, so that I am able to make a difference through seeking change, challenge, variety, spice, depth, pep, kick, okay, vertical, horizontal, here, there, everywhere. That's how it is. Mindfulness. Whatever you do, whenever you do, with whomsoever you deal with, you are going to act firmly using your mind. Don't become quixotic. Don't become whimsical. Don't simply go by your any volition. Should not be an act of volition. Okay, that's how it is. You want to promote well-being of your colleagues, your own family members, your own daughter, your own son, your own wife, your own kith and kin, your own relatives. Promote well-being. That's how it is. And happiness, contentment. That's how it is going to be. You try to multiply, divide by all your worries and sorrows and stresses and strains and pains. When your lives have become increasingly painful, stressful, strainful, conflictful, why do you want to Baba? Already Corona times, before Corona we had, after Corona we had, during Corona also we had. So try to multiply the happiness. That's how it is going to be. Multiply and divide by all your worries. This is how it is. Lastly, I think I'm almost coming to an end. When you have set for yourself, at least 5. It's only suggestive list, not exhaustive list. There can be 100 statements or 100 adjectives. So live in freedom. Now, what is it that you know the background, you know the context, you know your perspective, you know your moral, your ethical, your value system, you know. So freedom, live in freedom. What is it that you have to do now? You are going to, out of all these 100 plus, which one are the most important ones? You try to put them together. You're zeroed in on to a set of 5. Out of these 5, among all these things, which one is the most important? Rank them, rate them. That is first one, second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one. Try to do that. That is going to be guiding your life from today onwards. That's how it is. You have to choose to use this particular one as the primary one. My life goal is this. Under no circumstances, I've got unflinching faith in this particular value system. That's it. Unwavering, unequivocally, I'm going to state it once again that I shall never ever compromise on this value, this principle, this group. So that's how you have to do it. And after all, a life that is lined up with personal values is a well-lived life, a purposeful life, a useful life, a beautiful life. Okay? You are going to live it fully, thoughtfully, fruitfully. You are going to be living it. That's how it is. Don't try to add years to your life. Try to put life into your years. That's how it is. My 17 barsaka, my 18 barsaka, and now I'm 17, I'm 18. What is the use of you adding years? Unless you are able to come up with a convincing answer, a justifiable answer that you did really, not how many breaths that you've taken. Okay, 8 times at least in a minute you have taken, otherwise you are dead. But the question of how many times that you frequently take the breath away from your bosses, your leaders, your wife, your children, or colleagues, associates, friends, or maybe your audience, your students, etc., etc. That's how it is going to be. Now, you may ask me, sir, you have given such a big lecture, bada bhashan de diya. How these values are going to be helpful to us? Now, that is, these are the things. Be it your family, your personal life, family life, social life, friends, all those things, values do exist. You have to understand them. Bring them to your conscious awareness at least today. That's how it is. I don't want to. Now, all these PPTs are not copyrighted. The copying rights are with you. I request Ravi Alabala to share all these PPTs. 3 sets I've already sent. I have 1 more set I'm going to be sending it. I've already given you the cases, and I am going to share with you 6 textbooks, Khatarnak textbooks on OB with you today by lunchtime. All these books are titled OB. They're all the best of the best of the best textbook that you can think of. OB, all soft copies, maybe 500 pages, 600 pages, 400 pages. Enjoy them. That's my complimentary. That's going to be a gift from my side to all the webinar, FDP attendees, the participants. So when you define your personal values, you discover what is truly important, what is important to me, what is important, what is avoidable, what is postponable, what is urgent, what is emergent, what is most important. That is going to become evident to you. Okay, that's how it is. So what do? You identify the times when you were the happiest. Just close your eyes and think for a while as to when did you feel really happy. The day you got married, the day you got a job, the day you got your master's qualification or PhD, MPhil, whatever. Be it personal life or family life or career life, whatever. You try to seek answers. What were you doing? Where you were? Were you with other people? Where were you? Where were you with other people? Who? What other factors contributed to your growth in happiness? It's a slight syntactical error. Taken care. Okay. Then what should you do? The second most important step is you identify the times when you were most proud. You really feel proud when you could really live your standards of excellence, your own benchmarks, your own values, your own value system. That's it. I did not compromise. I did not cheat. Mass copying was going on. When I was writing my intermediate examinations, mass copying was going on. Flying squads were there subsequently. At that time, I did not resort to. But in the process, I did not get first division for the first time in my life. Otherwise, school first, college first, university first. But that was the first time I missed out. Of course, I was the college topper, but there was no first class because of mass copying. But it's a proud feeling for me. That's the simple reason I could really think about it and pat my own back, saying that Surya, you have done a good thing because you make the family proud, the parents proud, the father proud, the students proud, the university proud, the department proud, the college proud, etc. So that's because from my career, from my personal life, from my student life, I do that. Now, also think about those times when you feel that you rather felt most fulfilled, fully filled, satisfied, contented, okay, actualized. That's how it is. So, no, this is try to do that. And a fourth step is going to be, what are going to be the top values based on your experience of happiness, pride, fulfillment, contentment, enjoyment, or maybe as a sort of self-concept or ego, anything, maybe self-concept. That's not in a negative sense, ego. That's a fulfillment, actualization. I could really actualize myself. I could really become what I could become. I can do. And I did it now. That's how. I could be what I could be. That's how it is. If I can be what I can be, that is fulfillment. That's it. If I am what I am. So that's how it is. You wanted to become CEO. You want to become the Vice Chancellor. You became the Vice Chancellor. What more you want? A sense of fulfillment, sense of satisfaction, a sense of closure, a sense of proprietorship, a sense of ownership, a sense of belongingness, a sense of contentment. All these constructs you must have studied. So many PhDs I'm able to see among the participants. You must have used several instruments. Several instruments you must have used it for the purpose of conducting your own your primary database research or your empirical research before you submitted your PhD thesis. That's how it is. Experiential. Next one is going to be, now when you have got 5, 6, 7, a dozen or a half a dozen, you prioritize your own top values. That's going to be most difficult, but try to zero in on to those top 5, 6, etc. That's how it is. Now, lastly, you don't need to really bother about the order, but once again, you have a big list, something like brainstorming, try to do that cerebral popcorn, mental popcorn, try to generate, and then best ones you try to really come up with a list. Lastly, you have to take a vow, reaffirm your own values. I am going to live for them, die for them, uphold them, maintain them, inculcate in my colleagues, in my children, my family. That's how it is. These are some of the things I myself must have, as I told you repeatedly, have imbibed them from my parents. That's how it is going to be. That's all about this. But the session is not over. Session is not over because it's only half of. It has given me 4 quarters. 1 quarter is okay. Now the second quarter. That is, it's going to be, if at all, the 2 lecture sessions can be compared to a full bottle. 1 quarter is over. The second quarter, now I am into what is this? I'll come to what is it that has value study. I'll come there. I don't know how many of you, nor am I able to see the chat box, so that at the end of each sentence I can ask you, come on, your replies. I can make it 100% participative, but it's a lot of time. It's highly time consuming. A lot of time goes into it, and I may not be covering the entire topic. So that's why let me skip it. I'll come back to you on the values based way. Down below, somewhere down below it has got, or I can very well go there. Go there. Let me see. Values. No, it's not there. Maybe some other. I have not yet. Okay. Now let's go to equally interesting topic. Construct a motivation. I keep it. Okay. Take a pause for 30 seconds. I'll start. Now we are shifting the gates. Now it's no longer going to be on values. Values are over. Personal core values exercise. I hope, I trust, I believe that you have done it already. You have done it already. And there is no key for that, because personal values are totally personal to you. Highly independent of others' values. Individualistic to you. Independent of others. Highly, as I told you, personal. So that means here, there is no answer. It's for you. If you have not done it, go home and do it in the evening. You can use it when you conduct a lecture session, when you conduct a training program, when you become the trainer, when you become a resource person. So try to use that as it is. Absolutely, you don't need to even acknowledge the source, because the copying rights are with you. Now, let's quickly come to the motivation. I want to spend less time on motivation because all of your teachers, you not only studied, you not only took the examination passed when you did your MBA, you studied in multiple subjects. You studied in management theory, organization theory. You must study motivation, a series of theories and motivation in OB. You must have studied some of the principles, some of the theories in your consumer behavior. So I don't really want to be guilty of being repetitive, reiterating, redundant in my lecture today. But I want to tell you something about motivation which you might not have really studied. Now, first and foremost thing is, I lost count of number of time that I must have really made a mention about it in my training programs. Whenever I lecture on motivation, on leadership, inevitably, I do recall this, and I am going to share this quotation with all my student friends, all my trainees, all my attendees. What is the dialogue? Of all the problems faced by management, motivation must surely be ranked as one of the most intractable. See the word intractable, nebulous, mysterious, black box, ununderstandable. That is the word. There is no single theory relating to motivation that can be completely and unqualifiedly accepted as accounting for all the known facts. And there is no definite set of prescriptions that are unequivocally supported by research data. The sentence may look long, complex, complicated, difficult to understand, but I make it simple. There's a purpose behind sharing with you the quotable quote. What does it say? You as a manager, you as a leader, you as a supervisor, working in an organization as administrative official, as a functionary, as an officer working for any type of organization, you have several problems, many problems, and varied problems, different types of problems. But which problem is going to be most gnawing? It's called gnawing ache, troubling ache is going to be motivation. That is the first sentence. Rank one of the most intractable. You can't really deal with it deftly and adeptly and adroitly and skillfully. Even having your MBA, so double specialization, dual specialization, all those things, intractable, because nobody has found any solution for this. Few hundred cases must have been submitted across the globe. MPhil dissertations, project works, all these things. But still, we do not have one single simple solution for this problem, because continues to be avoiding us, evading us. Solution is avoided. It is continues to be evasive, elusive. Okay. There is no single theory. Okay, you have studied so many theory, Abraham's Master's theory, or you have got Ohio State University theory. You are going to have the another one. You have theories. You've got Hedgeberg's two-factor theory, theory, or MH theory. Context and content factor theory. You have got David McClelland's need for achievement theory. You have got Victor Vroom's theory. Okay, expectancy theories you have got, contingent theories you are going to have, or situational theories. And you are also going to have management grid theory given to us by Robert Blake and James Moulton. And as I told you, Ohio State University and what is the other university? So these are all even they have given. But you tell me, you studied all these things. One theory name, which is going to completely explain motivation? No. If one single set of theories or one single theory, one framework, one model, one exposition is going to explain fully, thoughtfully, logically, reasonably, entire phenomenon of motivation, the entire construct, the concept, the phenomenon, the occurrence that is going to be there in any organization, I think we would not have studied so many. We would have studied only that particular theory. But unfortunately, it explains only 5%, 1%, 10%. So that's how it is. Unqualifiedly, unconditionally. So that's how it is. It cannot be accepted as accounting for all the known facts. Every theory, you are going to have two broad sets of theories: content theories, process theories, need-based theories, ERG theory, two-factor theory. What is the other one? Douglas MacGregor, theory X and theory Y. So all these things, they only explain to you something. But otherwise, we would not have studied, Paul Helston, Blanchard's theory. Okay, we have got attitudinal theories, we have got behavioral theories. So that's how it is. All the known facts are not explained by one single simple theory, and hence we have to study all the theories. Okay, and okay, we do not want theories. We are all MBA graduates. Tomorrow we are going to join a corporate body, a body corporate. Once we are going to make our journey, our odyssey in the corporate portals, I want my Professor Suryanarayana to give me one set of do's and don'ts, prescriptions and prescriptions, roadmap and route map. Sorry, I cannot give you a definite set of prescriptions like a doctor that are unequivocally supported. Sir, the subut kya hai, evidence kya hai, defense kya hai, facts kidhar hai, figures kidhar hai. So you do not have that, and hence, as long as I'm not able to produce, adduce research data, empirical data, evidence, defense, logic, reasoning, proof, measurable, demonstrable, provable, I cannot say this is gospel. These are all 10 commandments. Go and then say abracadabra, abracadabra. All your subordinate officers are going to dance to your tunes. You can't say that. That is the purpose of this particular. Now, I just now made a mention about two theories. Not many people know, including professors. Attitudinal model and a behavioral model. What is an attitudinal model? Because you know so much about attitudes. You have studied about attitudes. Now, behavior, you know about behavior. But when do you call a particular motivation theory attitudinal theory? For example, Ohio State University and Michigan State University, almost simultaneously, without knowing about each other's research works, they proposed their own leadership theories. For example, concern for people, concern for production. Somebody talks about it. Man is the grid theory. Your 1191, 199955, all those empowered style, right? Your task style, team and style, balance up. You are going to say trade off, and you say you have to say dampened pendulum, 5-5, dampened pendulum, and you are also going to have 19 is going, and 91, 99, 11, all these things. So when you are going to say content, there are all these styles. They're only or attitudinal models because concern, because we don't know whether he is really going to have behavior which is in tune with attitudes, because the proposition is not preposition. Proposition is that attitudes cause behavior, but they do not necessarily guarantee 100% of the times, and hence this could be called Ohio State University. Once again, they only use attitudinal criteria. They don't use behavioral criteria. The only theory is going to be task behavior, relationship behavior. Say when you have got the postdoctoral work of Paul Hersey and Kenneth Blanchard, then these people have come up with that. Then it is a behavioral model, because you're not studying attitudes, you're studying behavior. There's going to be one thing that I wanted to 100%. Babu, oh my God. This is how it's going to be. Now, similarly, I want to tell you, so Ohio State University and Michigan State University are attitudinal models. Okay, and Paul Hersey and Kenneth Blanchard's theory is also going to be attitudinal because it does not talk about behavior. Other theories are going to talk about that. When you move on to the advanced theories of motivation, you start getting the behavioral dimension. Similarly, here there's a gentleman by name David McClelland. Why I'm telling you is I don't want to repeat need hierarchy of Maslow, theory X, theory Y, two-factor theory, MM theory, MS theory. No, because you studied enough. Now, what generally people do not know much about is about Nash, need for achievement, NAFL, need for affiliation, and NP. What is NP? Need for power. Need for power, need for achievement, need for affiliation. The three basic needs you are going to have as a human being. Maybe different proportions, maybe in different grades, different percentages, but every one of us, everybody in the world is going to have this, going to be gone. Now, who is this gentleman? David McClelland is an American psychologist. He came to India. He came to Andhra Pradesh at the time. He came to Kakinada. He went to Yanam because he wrote a book called as Achieving Nations. But much before Achieving Nations, he had three questions. Why certain communities, certain countries, certain continents, certain tribes, certain individuals achieve more, others do not achieve more? So this he wanted to find out. That's how it is. Then he found out only those people like professors. Each time some research scholar from Mahatma Gandhi University is going to read out the profile of the resource person. So, oh my God, the biodata is running with 50, 60, 100 pages of biodata. That means here, these are all achievers. That is professors, scientists, engineers, doctors, surgeons, cricketers. Okay, there is sports persons, film actors, heroes and heroines. These are all the space. These are all generally, by and large, these people have got very high need for achievement. They want to do MPhil, they want to do PhD, they want to publicate, they want MPhils, they want PhD, they want to produce PhD. 55 PhDs. Vidyadhar Reddy yesterday, he was reading out the profile. That lady was reading out the profile. That's how they're all achieved. What do? They are going to take personal responsibility for the outcome. Whatever happens in my career, my family, so it's attributable to me. Credit is there, I take it. Blame is there, I take it. That's the type of thing. That's how it is going to be. And you are going to take a calculated risk in your career, in your job, in your organization. That's how it is. And you want feedback. You want people to know. At the end of the FDP, I want to know from Aliwala, what did the participants say? Did they like it or not? Could I be of some use to them or not? Could I really give them some inputs? What were the takeaways for their perspective? That's how it is. At the same time, Suryanarayan always wanted his colleagues to be very competent, able, capable, capacities, competencies, skill sets, knowledge, wisdom, erudition, experience, exposure, expertise, experience, because they're all my colleagues, my associates, my co-workers. That's how it is. I don't bother about my personal feelings. I may like them, I may not like them. I only go by the professional competence. That's how it is. One more thing, you teach. You must have been teaching this paper again and again. But I want to give you just one slide, which is very much important. when you are teaching motivation theory, MH theory, MM theory, two-factor theory, extrinsic intrinsic factor theory, called by many factors. Now you understand when you tell your students the factors that are present when job satisfaction is produced is separate, distinctly different from the factors that led to job satisfaction. First and foremost thing is, even if you want to do one more MPhil, one more PhD, have this as one of your hypotheses. That is, for example, job satisfaction. There are some factors which are going to cause it directly, immediately, vitally, and nothing. There's no intervening variable at all. Similarly, there are certain things which have produced job dissatisfaction. This different thing. When you are able to say the factors, the forces, the fluxes, the currents, the undercurrents, the variables that are going to produce job satisfaction, separate, independent, and discrete, and the one that are going to produce job dissatisfaction, male, female, good, bad, opposites, job dissatisfaction, they're separate. That means here, the opposite of one is not the same thing as the absence of it. That is, the opposite job satisfaction is, don't say from today onwards, no job satisfaction, you should say. But never say job dissatisfaction. You shall not say. You shall not say that. Similarly, if somebody asks you what is the opposite of job dissatisfaction, you have to say not job satisfaction. You say no job dissatisfaction. That's why we use the word hygiene factors. They're all extrinsic factors. They're all the factors that surround the job. They are not the one that are going to the job. They're not going to be part of the job, the being in the job. That's how it is. So when you say that I'm happy on the job, not around the job, not off the job, that is, job itself is giving you a kick, a pep, change, challenge, variety, spice, depth, and juice. Everything is giving. It is giving you vertical loading. It's going to give you horizontal loading. It's going to give you job variety, task significance, autonomy, freedom, so many things. It's going to give you feedback, and hence that job is going to give you a kick like a professor's job. So that's how it is. Just because Mahatma Gandhi University is going to crow about telling others about the campus, the premises, the pressings, the classroom, the structure, infrastructure, the architecture, the classrooms, the tables, the furniture. No. Students are not happy just by looking at all these things. They will never be satisfied. People will be satisfied only when students are going to get inputs, right takeaways. If there is a mentor, there's a trainer, the facilitator, a teacher who is going to teach him something. That's how it is. Real lectures are going to give them satisfaction, not the chair, a cushioned chair, a chair padded with a lot of comfort. Okay, the cushion and with a swivel. No, that's not good. One more thing that I want to tell you is, because I have given you a case. For answering that case, this slide is useful. I gave you a simple case. I asked you to analyze the case from Abraham Maslow's need hierarchy, and I also asked you to analyze the case from the point of view of B.F. Skinner, the Skinner behavior. So there's a theory called as behaviorism, the behavioristic approach. That's what Pavlov, B.F. Skinner, Russian scientist Pavlov. You must have studied. So now when you are teaching, there's one thing. But when you analyze the case, see whether some of these bullet points are going to be useful while analyzing the case, discussing the case. If time permits, you do it. Otherwise, you can, I don't know, I'll open my mobile. I can see the chat box. Now, what is it? General Skinner says, reward desirable behavior and ignore or punish if otherwise. That is, if it is unfair. This is what precisely 100% of the cases, father, mother, any parent, grandfather, grandparent, all the elders in the family, they are going to do it when you're newly born, when you're months old, 1 year old, 2 year old, 3 year old. That's how it is going to be. That's it. That's how reinforcement takes place. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. I give you a puppy. I give you a chocolate. I give you a toffee. I give you a chocobar. So that's how it is going to be. It is going to motivate you. When you are going to bite the nails, when you're not going to sit properly, I'm going to admonish you. I'm going to bawl out at you. I reprimand you. I punish you. I beat you. I spank you, because it is not desired behavior, does not behave of that particular behavior at that age. So father is going to beat you. He's going to frown upon you. That's how it is. Positive reinforced desired behavior. That's how it is. In organizations, incentives are going to be given based on, or profits are going to be shared among with you based on your productivity, your profitability, your contribution, your bottom line, your top line, your market value, your sales volume, your sales value. So whatever for your engineering capability, for your technological superiority, for learning a new language, a new package, new platform, new ERP, okay, new app. So that there exactly you are going to be given incentive for the behavior which is highly desirable, wanted, expected, upheld. So that's how it is. Apply positive reinforcement. Maybe you are asking for a transfer, give. Asking for a promotion, give. Hike, give. Appreciation, adoration, admiration, acknowledgement. You are going to raise him, praise him, eulogize him. Give him a bouquet, give him a pat on the back, a word of appreciation, praise in public, criticize in private. You do all these things. That's how it is. I want to do that. Now, case study, because I've got time. Let me go through the case facts. It's up to you to really talk. You can unmute yourself at the end of the case and then you can give your answers. Already, you must have gone through it once. Such of those people who have not gone through it once, now is the time. What is very small case, only few lines, but on slides, maybe they look 3 pages. What is the setting? What is the scenario? What are the case facts? Mr. Surya has noticed that Sunshine Homes Limited, something like Jay Berry. So, case is not cheerful. Our company was a different company, different case altogether, but it was cheerful, pleasant. It was always happy, everything is hunky-dory, everything is going to be ha-ha, wah-wah. So that wow factor, I was able to inject into my company called Sunshine Homes Limited as the CEO of the company. It's a beautiful place to work for. That's how it is. Now, that's back when he was building 6 homes a year, everyone appeared to be dedicated to meeting deadlines, controlling cost, and keeping customers highly satisfied. That is, there was customer delight, customer astonishment, customer bewilderment, customer satisfaction, customer, what should I say? Customer, I don't want to use that bad word, but I want to say, so this is customer ecstasy. Let me use that word. That means, people are doing their job. They are able to convert the deadline to lifeline. And there's no question of the need for cutting the cost, because costs are always within the limits. Cost control not needed, because cost reduction is not needed, because cost controls were there. Reduction is different thing altogether. Now that means when you are staying within the budgets, everything within the standards, what is the problem? You're able to meet the standard, beat the standard, become the competition, stay ahead of the competition, and you're able to meet it and beat it. So that is the type of a time. Later on, what happened? The last 2 years, the company has grown to 15 houses. That is some sort of growth and expansion. And added 2 new employees were added. You inducted them, you hired them, you have engaged the services. Now it seems like everything is falling through the cracks. That's how it is. Slippage, seepage, leakage, damage. All these things are happening. Distribution losses, transmission loss, something like that. So what's happening? Deadlines are missed, mistakes are made. Once upon a time, they were infallible. Now you have become fallible. You start making mistakes, defects are there, deficiencies are there, insufficiencies are there. You are lagging behind. You lack in something. You have become laggards, and you are going to do it again and again. Wastage, once again, rework, wastage, avoidable cost, avoidable nonsense, nuisance. So that's how it is. So now nuisance has to prevail. It has to take place in the place of nuisance. So no one wants to accept responsibility. That is shirk responsibility. There is no role clarity, goal clarity, work assignment clarity. Delegation is not proper. Abdication may be taking place. People have become my, indifference, carelessness, negligence, dereliction of duties, insubordination. Okay, insubordination. All the things are happening. Maybe we don't know. I'm only guessing. So for mistakes, and everyone blames everybody else, or buck passing is happening. This is it. Now, what Surya has done, Surya has also noticed that tempers are shorter. People have become short-tempered, ill-tempered. That's how it is. You are not able to maintain your equanimity, your balance of mind. Ups, downs, travails, tribulation, sweetness, bitterness, successes, failures, defeats, victories, all the ebb, trough, all these things, are to, pour to, all these things, these are all common in life. But you should be able to take all of them along with you. That's how it is. Pongi povaddu, krungi povaddu. That's how we don't get excited. The hip, the hype, the hoopla that you create should not result itself in a halting start. It should be kick start. For that purpose, you are going to not witness any terrible interdepartmental conflict, interdepartmental disputes. This is going to be very much important. People may have become burnt out. The job burnout, we say the burned out. The increase, as I told you, when your life is going to become increasingly, ever increasingly stressful, strainful, painful, conflictful, full of stresses and all these things, negative stresses, then you had hired additional help in both the office and the field and increased salaries to keep pace with the market. So you want to pay not at par with the market or below the market. You want to pay the people above the market to attract them, retain them, sustain them, improve them, attract them. All these things, talent. So you need to have talent to identify the talent, to attract the talent, to maintain the talent, to sustain the talent, to sharpen the talent. To once again, upskilling has to happen. Learning, unlearning, relearning, all the things are equally important. That you try to do it as Surya. So now, just a few sentences case. You tell me, ponder over, reflect, think about, think through, think at this particular case facts. Use your motivational theory knowledge and write a paragraph. When I come back to you after the tea break, only few points. You don't need to write an essay. Few points. Okay. When I come back at 12 o'clock, I'll tell you my own insights, and then whether you could really touch upon the right say threads for the case analysis. So what is going wrong? I gave you one. This is very mini case. It's a mini case, just a paragraph, and then just go through it and use. And you tell me from your OB perspective, HR perspective, or maybe whatever motivated theories that you recollect, that you studied, that you understood, and that you can really apply now. Especially, I told you, B.F. Skinner is going to be one. Similarly, here you can have Victor Vroom's theory. He said M is equal to V into E into I. Rajinikanth says Baba. B to the A to the B to the A, something like that here. Motivation theory, Khatarnak theory. Victor Vroom, he said, as one of the contingency theories, very popular, M, motivational force, motivational strength is equal to V. V is valence. Valence is a word from psychology, which means value. How much do you value the promotion? How much you value the incentive? How much you value appreciation, adoration, admiration, acknowledgement from your boss, appreciation of the boss, or a citation in the boss, a fellowship from some organization, best teacher award from government of Telangana, best teacher award from President of India. How much you want? Balance. And expectancy. Do you expect, for example, if you really work hard, sincerely, seriously, dedication, application, energy, enthusiasm, okay, knowledge, wisdom, erudition, skill sets, publications, research, what is the guarantee that your name is going to be recommended by Usmania University administration? Do you stand a chance? That's all. So balance, expectancy, and instrumentality. Okay, my effort, my publications, my MPhils, my PhD that I produce must lead to the coveted reward. That should be. And okay, so it may lead, but can I? What is the probability, the possibility of I getting it among so many people? That's how it is. Maybe I'm a great teacher, but do I get the best teacher award? May not be, because better teachers are there. When you are good and good is not enough, you have to become a better teacher. You're a better teacher, but better teacher is not good enough. You have to become the best teacher. You have already become the best teacher. Don't stop there. You have to better the best. So that's how it is going to be. Please do study this case, analyze the case, and give me your answers. When I come back, unmute yourself after the tea break. Wait for some more time. No, this is this case. Now, anyway, what should I say? What is this case? some ideas I want to. Okay. Now, for such some of those people, you need not be competing. You can be complementing, not PLE, complementing my answers. Add some more, not substitutes, but supplementary dialogues or answers or as perspectives. Now, it's not substitutes. No. What is it? When you go to the case, the immediate initial reaction response that somebody gets is going to be, after all, end of the day, all organizations are a reflection of the people in charge. Yesterday, Vijay Reddy mentioned only about 3. Let me tell you, there are 7 elements at least, components, ingredients, parts, subsystems that are going to make up, compose, result in, contribute to a living organism called as organization. What is it? Task, structure, people, process, culture, climate, and technology. Because he talked about technology very late, yesterday, before lunch. So that's it. So if the top is disorganized, unorganized, okay, or ill-organized, frazzled, broken, weak, dispirited, demotivated, discontented, so to say, deflated. That's how it is. Now you are going to be. Then so it's the rest of the operation, because we expect things to permeate, trickle down, not always bubbles up. That means, yeah, if the top is okay, middle is going to be okay. If middle is going to be okay, the bottom is also going to be okay. That's how it is going to be. It has to be, motivation has got to be top management supported, top management driven, top management focused, something like that. You are going to take the lead. You are going to be the forerunner. You are the front runner. You are the trailblazer. You do the trick. You do the gimmick. Don't play tricks. That's how you try to do it. Now, the law of entropy, we must have studied when studying a system theory, must have studied very first year MBA, first semester. You will be teaching. That's generally we can take spend more than what we are going to receive in terms of inputs. So, first of all, Surya has to ask himself some hard questions. Am I good as a leader? Am I good as the Saradhi? I am the charioteer. I am the Krishna. Who is wrong? Krishna is wrong or Arjuna is wrong? Something like that. Like everything else, rejuvenation, recuperation, revitalization, okay, redrafting, recrafting, rewording, rephrasing. Okay, everything has got to be starting from the top. It has to. That's how it is. So, when was the last time has Surya at any time talked to anybody freely, fairly, fully, frankly, fearlessly, in a friendly atmosphere, unencumbered, unhindered, unqualified, unfettered, unconditional way, to his bosses, to his management, to his subordinates, to his associates? That's it. Have I successfully, succinctly communicated the organized vision? What is vision? People like, I think, Vijay Reddy, are their domain. But let me tell you, a vision is a broad, vibrant, coherent, consistent picture. A big picture, a broad picture, a grand picture, a grandiose picture. 20 years later, 30 years later, 40 years later, that is going to be what is called a vision. Accordingly, you have to make the provision. Has Surya made the provision? No. Where things are going Ari, where things are going where things are going ulta. Where is going? Which one is going where? That's how it is. So that's how it is. Where I need to have reapportion, reallocate, reprioritize, redistribute my resources. That's how it is going to be. My men, my machines, my metal, my minutes, my time. Okay, my methods, that is research and development. My materials, that is raw materials. My men, my HR, my money is going to find my finance. All these things are important. Where am I going to really reallocate them? Okay. Am I good in two-way communication? Is it only one-way dialogue like the way I'm lecturing? Blah, 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 blah. Mycomania. Oh, that's how it is. Oh, he's going to Mike Tyson. Surya Narayan is a Mike Tyson. Two-way communication. He only knows how to start. He does not know how to stop. He's a tap. Okay. No, it already turned on. Does he listen? Does he listen projectively, sympathetically, empathically? Does he listen intermittently or continuously? Does he listen projectively? Does he listen by putting the shoes in the, by putting the shoes, by getting himself in the shoes of the others? That's how it is. Has he become so wrapped up in day-to-day operation that he does not have time to play? No, the attention needs. Does he pay attention to the detail? Attention to detail is also important characteristic and hallmark, an important attribute of a successful leader, an effective leader, an efficacious leader. So that you try to do that. If you are not one, you cannot do motivation. You may ask me one thing, sir. You are mixing up leadership, motivation, communication. Kya baat hai? Are you not clear in your mind? Are you not clear-minded? No. Are you not thoughtful? Full. Now that means here you understand. Not many people know. 99.99% of the students and professors do not know the meaning of direction. Direction. That means when you say planning, organizing, directing, and controlling, only 4 more than sufficient. इतने बातें बोलने की जरूरत नहीं है. ये लक्ष्य बनिया है. Universal, ubiquitous, organic, reasoned functions, primary functions, principal functions, खतरनाक functions, that only for 5th one की जरूरत नहीं है. That means direction में communication is included, motivation is included, leadership is included. That's why we say director. So today morning we say Director Lakshmi Devi Madam. That is here. When you say you are the director, that is you cannot sidestep your authority by not doing any one of these 3 things. You have to do all the. I'm communicating. I don't want to motivate. I'll motivate, but I don't do the leading function. No. If you are a director CCMB, director MIN, director Osmania University Academic Audit itself, you are going to do 1/3 motivation, 1/3 leadership, and 1/3 communication. That's how it is going to be. So that's why here. In this case, you have to bring in a bit of leadership because unless you as a leader, you communicate, you can't motivate. Unless you as a motivator, you are going to do leading, you can't do motivation. That's how they're all intertwined, interlinked. They're all interlinked, intertwined. So one has to become so wrapped up in data. Oh, right. Lastly, my own discussion. When Surya hired the 2 new employees, you have to raise a question and try to seek meaningful answer. Kyun? Why? Are the existing person not sufficient? Are they going to be assistant to the existing personnel, or are they assistant managers? Lot of difference. Manager, assistant to manager. बहुत फर्क पड़ता है. Manager is the boss. Okay, he gives instructions. Assistant manager is his subordinate. That is through delegation. But assistant to me, it's not a line function. It is staff function. As a staff officer, staff functionary, staff executive, staff person, staff officer, you are only going to proffer service, advice, control, coordination. You are going to provide control. You are going to provide coordination, timing part, balancing part, integration part, or you are going to offer advice, piece of advice, your counsel, proffer some suggestion, some recommendation, but you can't take any final decision. That's all. You have to know that. Then, did the way he had them make the existing employees feel insecure? Suddenly, Pradilla ko la liya, rag diya, Sadullah ko rag diya, promote kar diya. So these are the feelings of insecurity, or maybe jealousy, or maybe ill will, or maybe anything can happen. Trishadvargam, ill will, jealousy, all these things, lust, these are all hatred. These are all bad things. Hatred we don't want. We shed hatred. I shed my thread. So that's how it is. You are going to not make other people feel insecure just because you have brought in 2 people. You try to do that and you answer. And here, whenever you bring in new people, you talk about induction program. Now we are going to get new batch of MBA students after ISET results are over, and now counseling is going to take place. Admits up in final days. Then what do? Oh, we are going to have welcome party. Later on, farewell party. You are going to have socialization, genderization, acculturization, induction, indoctrination into MBA program, into our own college, into our own university called Mahatma Gandhi University. Try to do it. Mentoring program. And also, is it there or not? Senior people, not necessarily in terms of age, psychological maturity, mental maturity. These people should be doing mentoring, not tormenting, augmenting and fermenting. They have to do it. So, new subordinate, new officer, new recruits, new hires have got to be attached to the mentors, the augmentors, the fermenters. That's how it is. Inculcate the corporate value. How else are you going to drive home, drive into the mind and the DNA of the new recruits, your cultural values, sorry, the ordinary values that you live for, that you work for, that you die for, that you uphold, that you maintain, that you sustain, then expect all the other people to really do it. That's how it is going to be. Hey, over. Not 50. 1 minute. Now, so that's how it is. Why I'm telling you all these things in the context of motivation. Oh, Jamana badal gaya. What used to motivate others is a totally different ball game altogether when compared to the ones that are going to motivate the people. What is it? Actualize them, motivate them, spur them into action, impel them, energize them, enthuse them, encourage them, embolden them, enable them, embolden them and enable them. Ennoble, that's going to be ennoble, make them noble. That's going to be different altogether. Nowadays, people no longer want money, 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 money. It is no longer going to be economic motivation, monetary motivation, financial motivation. It's not always going to, nor is it going to stick and carrot. It is going to be when you are asking your own officers, ask them, ask your colleagues, ask your superiors, ask your employees, workers, supervisors, everywhere. So nowadays, people want to work for such organizations where they are going to encourage people to have autonomy, independence, empowerment, appreciation, acknowledgement. Okay, and they want their work to be recognized. They want to be. They want praise. They want little bit of praise. That's how it is. Good wages. They are no longer going to be that. I think I'm just waiting for these people to say last. No, that's how it is. So, for example, if my employees are less than enthusiastic, that is it. There is no energy, there is no enthusiasm, there is no. You created the hip and hype and hoopla, but now there's no longer going to be visible. Aramba Suratvam, like Andhras, or the Telugus, and the first day it's going to be bus. Second day it's going to be tus. So we don't want this sort of a thing. First day it's going to be full of energy. Next day it's going to get deflated. Be spirited. The spirits have got to be there. You're expecting a spirited performance. You have to be always in good spirits, not consuming spirits. So that means you need to understand the role I'm expected to play, the cap that I'm expected to put on as a leader. Hope attendance sync is going to be coming to you. Must have already come for the session 1 today, second day. No, that's how it is going to be. Once again, I told you. Do you have any goal clarity, role clarity, work assignment clarity? Who should do what, why, when, where, how, what for? The yield, the field. You are a batsman. The field. What is the field? The pacing, the spacing, the placing of your shots. All are important as a batsman. That's how it is. You are going to taking the problem, address the attitudes and participate. So, what these attitudes are they participating enough? Are they engaging themselves enough? Are they engaged or disengaged? Partially or fully? That's how it is. So, that's how it is going to be. There's going to be one more case and motivation. Okay, I'll come to that later. Now, where are we now? It is as per my 5 more minutes are there. What I do is, I don't discuss the case. I only read out the case for you for the benefit of those attendees who have not downloaded it in the laptop or who could not read it properly on the mobiles because the WhatsApp attachment. So now let me read out and just stop there. I read it and then by 12 noon sharp, I'm going to stop it. I'm going to come back at 12:10. Because I need to load the PPTs onto the laptop, which I'm using for the first time. Okay. What is this case? This is a case and motivation. 1 or 2 slight errors have crept in inadvertently, and 1 or 2. And then that you can correct it now. Now, here I go. The title of the case is Measures Surya Enterprises. For the sake of brevity, short form, SC. What is it? The procedural manual, something like SOP, we call it, standard operating procedures. We are going to have rules, regulations, guideline, guidepost, roadmap, route map, finger post, signpost, okay, nitty gritty, nuts, bolts, screws, and washers. Not just vision, mission, strategies, tactical ploys, goals, objectives, projections, predictions, forecast, policy, procedure, method, system, all these things, budget. So many things are there. For all these things, I want to give you only one word: planning. exercises in planning, components of planning, elements of planning, byproducts of planning. And you don't need to search for decision making. Decision making is not a managerial function exclusively. When you say planning, planning may the art of it. The heart of it is decision making. So don't search for ढूंढते रह जाओगे. Decision making you will never ever come across. For example, POSDDCORB or PODC. No, you don't find that. No. But the case, I'll stop here. The procedure manual of Surya Enterprises stated that back orders should be filed numerically. Numerically means number 1, 2, 3, 4 in ascending order. By the invoice number appearing on Surya Enterprises purchase order book to its supplier. First sentence. Only 10 sentences are there. But one morning, kya hua? Gopal, my elder brother's name is, my first younger brother's name is Gopal. That's right. Gopal spent several hours refilling the back orders alphabetically. Not numerically, not alphanumerically, but only alphabetically. As if they are going to be mutually exclusive. By the name of the account that ordered the back order, for example, Suryanarayana, Satyanarayana, Madhava Rao, Janardhan Rao, Shankar, Gopi, like that here, by name. Alphabet, first alphabet of the name of the person who gave the order. When a customer called to check on an item that was back ordered, it was time consuming, highly. For Gopal to look at the order, then filed by invoice number. Sorry, novice. Sorry, it's not novice, it's invoice. There's a mistake. Now, but the problem existed because the back order was written up after it had been determined that the item was not in stock, out of cost. But that out of stock, stock out cost. We study inventory, and you say inventory carrying cost, inventory ordering cost. You should not carry too much of inventory. You should not carry less inventory. Okay, that's how it is. Stock out, there's a cost, and too much of cost, carrying cost is also going to be there. Now, inventory mount ups, try to avoid. Inventory amount. Inventory, what is the other word? Mount ups, opposite is the stock out cost, you should have. Consequently, the customer had no idea whatsoever the invoice number of this back order was. So, Gopal was proud of what he had done and wanted the opportunity to show off his system to the branch manager, Mr. Pranav. Incidentally, Pranav is the son's name. That's why I have said Pranav. So, this Gopal has duly and dutifully informed the branch manager, wow, I have done a good thing. He was as a talking point and then crowing about himself. He was patting his own back. After lunch that same day, Pranav needed a back order invoice to answer the question a customer had about his order. So, being the branch manager, he keeps getting some phone calls, inquiries. He wanted to do that and got back to Gopal. So, it's not Satya. Wherever you come across Satya is my second younger brother. So, remove that and then only Gopal. There is no such name as Satya by chance. 1 more minute maximum, I'm stopping. It was no problem for Gopal to find the invoice since it is filled. Sorry, double L. It was, sorry, it was not filled, filed only. It was filed alphabetically under the name of the account. I'm coming to name, Mr. Pranav told Gopal, that is the guy, that although the accountant, so to say, the finance guy, accountants guy, that although the invoice had been easily located, his filing system for back order invoices did not conform to company procedures, and they would have to be refilled by invoice number. You can say refilled or refiled, whatever. You have to fill it first and then file. Before the branch's semi-annual inspection next week, next week the inspection is going to take place, semi-annual, once in 6 months. Gopal was depressed, disturbed that he had to conform the company procedures even when they were inefficient. He knows that they were inefficient, ineffective, defective, deficient, insufficient to make the need fulfilled. He spent the entire afternoon refilling the invoices by number, not caring that he did not get anything else done. So this is the case. I'm going to stop here. See the questions. You do it during tea break. Will Gopal be motivated to try other methods of improving the efficiency of the job in the future? Explain. Can you motivate him? Can you motivate? If so, why so? If not, why not? You have to answer me. Which of Maslow's needs had been satisfied before Pranav told him to conform to company procedures? Just go through very difficult, but try to relate it to Abraham Maslow's need hierarchy, the physiological, physical, biogenic, biological, or survival, or existence. So many names are there. And then that's good. Then, of course, safety needs. When so it's safety, it's going to be not only economic safety, but also physical safety. Physical safety, economic safety, job tenure, and also your money bank balance. Then, of course, social needs. Social needs, once again, they are going to be, once again, your affiliation, belonging, etc., etc., love, giving, receiving. Then you are going to have esteem. Esteem is once again of two types: self-esteem, which you have to earn for yourself, and public esteem, which public is going to give to you because you are CM's son, our son-in-law, brother-in-law, CEO. That's it. Lastly, you are going to have self-fulfillment, self-actualization. That's what I try to do that. Discuss this case. Hertzberg's. Oh, sorry, you don't need to really do that. Only Hertzberg's. Hertzberg's is which was the maintenance factor, which was the motivator, which was the context factor, which was the content factor, which one is M, which was H, which one is, you have to tell me. Which one? Then Vroom's V into E into I told you, you tell me which one, how much of expectancy is there, how much of probability is there, how much of instrumentality is going to be there, how much the linkage, and how much is going to be Gopal's motivation strength. And lastly, just now I showed you the slide, B.F. Skinner. Okay, now you can use it, behavior, positive, negative, favorable, non-favorable, etc. I am stopping here. I'm stopping sharing. I hope, I don't know, I don't have any feedback. I'm stopping here.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. It was really an
No.
informative and interesting session. We all have learned about a lot of new dimensions about organization values and motivation. Sir spoke
Now,
about
much more is stored.